And let's get going. So welcome to today's presentation on the Green Book. We've been doing these about once a month for the past few months. And I certainly appreciate having everybody joining in. It's great to see folks here. And we will dive on in. Like we said, we are recording this session, so please let us know if you don't want to be recognized in some way. We're going to send a copy of that recording along with the presentation slide deck out to you guys by next week. And if you want to, after a while, as we move through the presentation, there will come a point when you might just want to be on the website, and that might be easier than watching, so you can actually follow along. So I will put the website for the Green Book in the chat here. There you go. So you guys can just log in that way if you want to. So cool. And our goals today are to clear off my screen so I can see everything. There we go. Take a look at some basic contracting principles and some language. Certainly talk about what CBEs are. Give you an overview of both the website and the actual publication because they're a little bit different. Take a look at some sample information and then talk about some resources that can help you. And some of those are not in the same linear pattern that we've got here. I've thrown in some resources as we need them. So those are our goals for today. And our director Whitfield was not able to join us today, but I know if she were here, she would encourage you to be as aggressive as possible at finding contracts and contracting with agencies. She has been an impassioned leader, impassioned champion for you all, for small business owners, and also impassioned in terms of producing information. And this Green Book is one of our agency's signature publications. We're actually in the process of putting it together for next year. And it is a very important project to the Director Whitfield to help you identify where is a good place to find agencies that might be interested in purchasing the goods and services that you sell. You all may know Director Whitfield's story. She is a small business owner and has been through everything that you do. Her testimonial is powerful when she talks about how she didn't always do everything right, and she encourages you to not bring your perfect self to DSLBD if you come for any of the resources that we have, but to bring your problems to us so that we can help you work through them. We have lots of great resources. Let's talk about what all the agency does. Here's our big picture mission, which is to support all of our DC-based businesses and to also support the direct consumer businesses, which are located in our commercial corridors. So we work with all 33,000 businesses, and with a special emphasis on the ones that are located in our commercial districts. The team that I work with is one that works on connecting business opportunities on both sides of the equation. So we help businesses like you find better ways to connect to sorry, I lost my feed here. We work with businesses like you to help you guys find ways to go look for more opportunities. So things like today, we offer counseling. So a list of all that we do. What we defined as an opportunity is just an absolute direct procurement from DC government. Any of our public-private projects that we work on, so subsidized developer projects, we look for opportunities for you all in those kinds of constructions. Any subcontracting, any big business that gets a contract from DC government has some subcontracting rules in it, and so we connect you with those prime contract holders to help you find those opportunities. We're also looking at sports wagering. We're very excited. The DC government law covering sports wagering is one of the first laws anywhere in the United States to hold the private sector to the same level of procurement, progressive procurement policies that the government is held to. So just like agencies have to spend a certain amount of their budget with small businesses, everybody who's soliciting a sports wagering license also has to spend a certain amount with small businesses. So it's been fascinating talking to all these businesses from New Jersey and Las Vegas who are not used to this kind of a rule. And I will say they're getting more excited about it than they were in the beginning. And we've got some real great wins to talk about. And then we also do counseling, workshops, matchmaking to help you guys connect with all of the above. And we have other parts of our agency that we can refer you for really intensive counseling. Our team does some introductory pieces, but then we have counselors that can work with you over the long haul. And so we're always looking for ways to help you all get better at prospecting for work. The other piece that our team does is to work with those agencies to help them identify more creative ways for working with you. So unbundling projects, helping them to find you. The matchmaking is for them as much as it is for you. And so making sure that they are pushing through and doing as much as they can. Here are a couple of resources that DSLBD has that you may want to take a look at. The big one is our dcbusinesstoolkit.com. And that is a sort of a one-stop portal for businesses to learn about how to be a strong business in the District of Columbia. My favorite piece of it is the calendar that has all kinds of events, networking events, educational events, grant deadlines, things that will keep you involved. So definitely take a peek at the calendar. And here's a sneak peek at a couple of sessions coming up in the next few weeks. If you have not already taken these workshops, these are basic workshops for selling your services to DC government. The general vendor workshop next week will walk you through what you need to do to become a vendor. And if you are already a CBE, then you should definitely be on the supply schedule. The supply schedule is where you and the Office of Contracting and Procurement agree to a price for what you're going to sell. And they only look in certain categories. So things that DC government buys over and over. And once you have established the price and gotten that accepted, then if any agency wants to buy office supplies, say, from your business, and you're on the supply schedule, they don't compete that. They just go directly to you and they buy it from you. So it is really important. So the supply schedule is definitely something that you should take advantage of. And then we have a new workshop, relatively new. Agencies can ask for waivers on meeting the law about hiring small businesses. If, for example, there is a product that is not made or produced in DC or sold in DC, then they can get a waiver to purchase it from another business. And we want to make sure that your business and you as a business owner knows how you can intervene in those requests and when you can intervene so that you can possibly pull some of that work back to you. And then let's take a quick break and see. Looks like we've got about 13 people. So let's try unmuting everybody and see what that's like. If anybody gets really super noisy, then I may come back and okay, so tell you what, I'm trying to unmute everybody and it looks like people are remuting themselves. Okay, so I'll try to unmute you, and then if you remute yourself or we have to mute you because there's background noise, then just send me a note in the chat and we can unmute you. So this way you guys can stop me if you have questions.
What is a CBE?
That's a great question. I actually have a graphic for that. So let me get to that in a quick second. Dior was the first person to sign in. And she got to see me. Is that Dior? Is that you?
Yes.
You got to see me changing that. I just moved that slide up to earlier in the presentation. So, okay, there should be a faster process, but I'm trying. Thanks for your patience here.
No problem.
Okay, I've only managed to unmute a few people. Okay, so yeah, Devin says he keeps muting himself. So I'm going to say shoot me over a chat. I've got my eye on the chat. If you want me to work at unmuting you, and you guys can mute yourself. So so go ahead. So cool. Okay. And thanks to all of you guys for signing in today. It's great to see you. So the last kind of generic thing I want to give you before we dive into the Cbe Law, thanks to your, is all the resources that our colleagues over at the Office of Contracts and Procurement can give you. And we just talked about some of the workshops that they provide. They are the agency. DSLBD is a regulatory agency. We regulate the folks involved with the procurement process, but we are not a procurement agency. OCP manages all of the solicitations on behalf of 88 agencies. So they have this transparency portal at the website that you can see. You can get forecasts from agencies, which are a little bit more updated. So thanks, Uchenna. So appreciate the politeness on noise. The Green Book is one big giant forecast, but as it's updated throughout the year, it gets updated both on the transparency portal and in the Green Book. You can see active solicitations, and then even more importantly, you can see contracts once they're awarded. So you can see who's ordering things. You can see who they're buying from through the purchase orders, and you can even track your payments that are being made. There are about 10 agencies that are independent of the OCP and do their own contracting and procurement. So you can see links to their own procurement page through there. So please definitely spend some time in the transparency portal as well as in the Green Book. Okay, so here's the answer to Dior's question. We talk about the Cbe Law, which stands for Certified Business Enterprise. And Dr. Laverne, I'm going to try to unmute you while I real quick explain what Cbes are. So here we go. You may be familiar with Cbe laws, minority and women-owned businesses in other states. In the district, we are a race and gender neutral program, and we focus on whether you are a local business enterprise, so LBE. To be a Cbe, the number one thing you must meet is that your business is headquartered in the District of Columbia. And we have a couple of different measures. I will refer you to our certification wizard that you can visit on our website to see if your business meets all of these categories. But the first thing you have to measure is that your business is located and headquartered in the district through 4 different definitions. And then there are other certifications beyond that. You can be certified as an SBE, which is a small business that's located in DC, and then disadvantaged if you're located in an enterprise zone, if you're a veteran-owned, resident-owned, or longtime resident-owned, and if you're a local manufacturing. So you can be certified in more of those categories. For each category, you get extra points added to your competition in the procurement process. So the benefits to Cbes come in many ways. The agencies are forced to work with you because there is a set amount of money they have to spend with Cbes. And we have recently upgraded that. It's not just enough that agencies are spending their funds with Cbes, they must be spending them with SBEs, with small certified businesses. So, so you'll hear my colleagues and I almost interchangeably refer to Cbe and SBE because they almost mean the same thing now. Much of the procurement is going to those small businesses. But if you were a small business owned by a veteran that was manufacturing, you would get extra points in each of those categories, up to a maximum of 12 points per each business. And the best example is the points come into play when you are putting together a proposal. If you and your competitor both submit a proposal for $100,000 for whatever work is going to be done, your proposal would be judged with a 12% discount. So it would be like you proposed doing that work for $88,000, which means you would get it over the person who proposed charging $100,000. You still get to charge $100,000, but in the judging process, you get this discount. So Cool. So that's the explanation of what all of the names mean. Okay, Dr. Laverne, did you have a question?
That was a terrific explanation. That was so good, Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been wondering about that. I'm actually a CBE, LB, I'm sorry, CBE, LBE, SBE, DBE. I'm all these things except veteran. And I'm also on the DC supply schedule.
Excellent.
I've done all the work, and it's very, very complex, but it's fulfilling when you actually complete it. My question is, I see opportunities to bid on, and I bid on them, but I'm wondering, based on what you said, if I'm already on the supply schedule, why don't people just come to me and ask for my services? I didn't understand why I had to still bid.
So it's two things. Not every depending not so that's a good question, and I'm not sure I've got the best answer. I don't think agencies are using the supply schedule to its fullest, so that's an opportunity we need to keep bumping up. And I think there are many reasons that they would decide to compete an opportunity instead of just going with somebody directly. They might be looking for something slightly different than what's on the supply schedule. They, you know, for whatever reason, but yeah, why they move to solicitation. The question I thought you were going to ask that we hear a lot is, if you're looking in the Green Book and looking in the transparency portal, you'll see forecasts that never show up in a competition. And one of the things that we want to make sure and let you all know is that only things above $100,000 have to be competed. So there are lots of little projects that are done with a non-competitive process. They solicit 3 proposals from firms, and that's the competition. So what we want to do, and the session that is our opportunities identification and capture session, which we have another one of those coming up actually next week on September 21st, and then another one coming up in November. We talk about all the tips for reaching out into agencies and making sure that they know that your business is there. So today's focus is more on researching the forecast, and then the other sessions are what to do with them. But a couple of quick tips for how to land those contracts. Staying in touch with the agencies as much as possible. So what we're going to show you today is how to find out which agencies are frequently buying the services that you sell or the goods that you sell. So then you want to make sure that you stay in touch with those agencies, that they have copies of your capability statement, that they have quick information. And I recommend doing it in the top and the front line. So make sure to send your information to the director. They all have contact sheets on all their websites or other web pages for each of the agencies. So let the directors all know what you do. But also reach out to the phone numbers on the front desk. We have maintained all of our public posture throughout the whole pandemic. They're all available. You can call any of those desks and just ask if you can send your information to them and if they can put it in the hands of anybody that might be procuring. So reach out in those 2 ways. The one thing I wanted to be sure and remind you guys to not do is to send gifts to offices. DC government has a very strong anti-gift policy, and you will get the agency in trouble by sending them unsolicited and, you know, what looks to you like a very nice, generous, you know, I'm just going to send over some cookies for today so everybody has these cookies. That is going to get the agency in trouble. So it does the opposite of it makes your business stand out, but in a negative way, because the staff members feel like you're sort of tempting them with literally a forbidden fruit if you send cookies. And so that's not what you want your business to be known for.
Lauren, quickly, you said there was some contact information. Where is that located? Because I can't seem to find it.
So the frontline phone number is on each agency's website. So, you know, dgs.dc.gov, go down to the bottom of the page, and each one has a similar footprint, and it will have the main information line.
Okay.
The directors have different so the front desk has a uniform. They all have to have, you know, a front desk. The directors choose to be notified in different ways. So you can see a page about the director for each agency, and that's where you'll see, do they have like a form that you fill out and send it in online? Do they actually have an email published? So you can get that kind of information. It's always a good bet. All of our Email addresses are formatted pretty much like mine. So first name dot last name at dc.gov. Never hurts to try sending that to folks.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Oh, good to know that Dr. Adams, sorry, sells training and consulting services. When we get to the live portion, let's take a look and see what kind of training and consulting services we do. Cool. So one last overview thing that we've been really emphasizing to everybody is the subcontractor requirements in the Cbe law. So like we said, contracts that are over $250,000 trigger a lot of special requirements. And if for some reason a contract is awarded to a business that is not a Cbe, it will automatically trigger a subcontracting rule that at least 35% of the dollar value of the contract has to go to an Sbe, not a Cbe, but an Sbe. If there's no Sbe, then they can default to a Cbe. You may, that's another opportunity for you guys to be working with the primes who hold these contracts. In the same vein, if contracts of over $250,000 go to Cbes, the same rule kicks in. If you are going to contract any portion of your contract, then 35% of what you're subcontracting has to go to Sbes. And then what we want you guys to know, and it gets larger with larger contracts. With $1 million contract, that amount rises to 50% of the work has to be done by a Cbe. And then the piece that we really want to zing out, just again, a quick summary, all contracts awarded to Cbes and non-Cbes of $250,000 and above have to have a subcontracting plan. And if you submit a proposal to DC government that does not have a subcontracting plan, then it will be kicked out in the first round and will not move to any kind of scoring. So make sure to include subcontracting plans if you are bidding on something that it has these size requirements. Also wanted to say that we are currently still in our emergency posture. So at this point, agencies have been told that they need to anything that the subcontracting rules have been raised to 50% of the contract, and it is with Sbes. So it really puts a spotlight on the small businesses and raises the amount that has to go into that. So all contracts that are competed instead of 35% between now and November, 50% has to be subcontracted to an Sbe. And currently our emergency status goes until November 5th. Okay, that's the quick overview. So Dior asked a question: is the goal to keep DC small businesses involved? I'm not sure I understand your question, Dior. Are you still there?
Oh, so when the I think you said you have to share with a subcontractor. Are you saying that the main contractor? I'm kind of confused by I don't know if you could tell.
Sure. It's complicated. No two ways about that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, is the goal to just make sure that DC small businesses are involved with the major contract? So if somebody gets a major contract, okay. Somebody said
yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. If somebody lands any of those big contracts, the 250,000 and above, it has an automatic subcontracting requirement. So there's tiers of small business involvement. 50% of what an agency spends has to go to a small business. So let's say out of their 50% that's not guaranteed to be going to a small business, for that they award $1 million contract to a non-Cbe.
Okay.
35% of what that Cbe is, 35% of that contract has to go to a Cbe. So like I said, their budgets are divided, and we've got a little graph coming up here, but just to jump ahead, two ways. Here's their total contracting. They're going to spend this much on anything. It gets divided into half. Half of it has to go to a CBE unless they get a waiver. The other half can go to anybody. But even if it's in this half that's going to anybody and they subcontract to hire a non-CBE, they still have to subcontract to the CBE. So you get the whole 50% coming to you plus 35% of the other half. Okay. A lot of math, but hopefully my little hand puppets made that help.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's take, like I said, there's both the book and the website. So here's a picture of the website, and here's a picture of the book, which you can download. It exists as a PDF, and so you can download it from the website. And they actually, I find looking at them together is really helpful because the information is formatted in different ways. It's the same information. The difference is the website is updated throughout the year. The book is not. But sometimes I notice things in the book that I might not have caught from the website. So I always say check both, and as you're searching through it. So like I said, here's what the goals are overall for us to help you with using these. And then here is an explanation of the terms that we talk about throughout the procurement process. So this is where my little hand puppets actually get expanded with a really nice graphic. So out of agencies, agencies look at their overall budget and they divide it into 3 ways. The first way is personnel and fixed costs, things that are not considered procurements. And so, that's salaries and the amount that covers their office space and things like that. The second part of the budget is marked in gray on here, and those would be things that are, for all kinds of reasons, not considered SBE or CBE eligible. And so, one example is that there's nobody available, but also Medicare is a huge example where the federal government's law supersedes the DC government law in how those funds are spent. So, there's a lot of reasons why funds would not be considered SBE eligible. And then the part in green are the acquisitions that go through a normal procurement process, not one that has an unusual one. And that is considered the agency spend. And so that's the portion of the budget that they're going to be spending on anything, using it to buy anything. And then out of that green portion, that's where the 2 hands come in. So half of everything that they plan to buy has to be spent with an SBE. And so for our goal this year, and if this is your first view of the Green Book, you're coming into the Green Book information at a very fascinating time. Most of the agencies by now have spent everything, only 2 weeks left. In last month's session, I did say it's always useful this time of year to call the agencies and say, just check in to see if you have anything emergency, we can work on it. Today might be a little bit too late to make that kind of call, but if you happen to be talking to somebody from an agency, certainly mention if there's something that you can have delivered to them by September 30th, or I believe that procurement will give them through October 5th to actually have it delivered. And so there's end of the year spending, most definitely. And then we are working hard with the agencies right now to get all of the data loaded into the Green Book for next year. So we will have new data coming for you fairly soon. We're hoping to have the new data available by early November. It does take us a while to get all of the budgets approved by the agencies. We're running a little bit later this year because the budget process was very delayed because of the federal COVID funding. The council delayed making decisions until they knew how much funding was going to be coming from the federal government. So things are running a little bit later than normal, but we're thinking by early November, we'll have all of the new reloaded Green Book up to you. So now you can use the Green Book to look and see what do they typically purchase from, say, training and consulting organizations or medical supplies or whatever it is that you sell. So it's a good historical record. And then in a month, it will become an active record again of active funds.
Laura?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
This is Devin. And you started to already answer part of my question. I was going to ask whether or not is there a best time? I mean, I know we should be doing this year round, but is there a best time to really start the process of seeking these types of contracts? And because I too am in all the categories except a veteran, and we're already certified with the DC and the small business and et cetera. So is there a best? So it sounds like right now is a good time to start getting ourselves familiar with these different organizations and introducing ourselves to them. Would that be accurate?
It absolutely is. When I have, I actually don't manage any procurement budget in DSOVD right now, but I did in a previous position. And, the whole goal is to spend as much as you can in the first half of the year so that you don't wind up on September 15th with extra money that you're going to lose it. So between October 1st and March 30th is when most agencies try to procure a lot. So yeah, this is a golden period. You guys are heading into the best time for prospecting for contracts. A lot gets posted now. That's not to say that tons of stuff doesn't get posted throughout the year. Agencies buy things all year round, but now is a great time to be getting to know the agencies really well. And you're not too late. October 1st is just 2 weeks away, but it takes, as you can imagine, it takes a $1.8 billion industry, which is what the DC government is. It takes us a little while to reset everything. So some agencies actually have rules that they don't procure anything for the first 2 or 3 weeks of October. So you're not missing anything. Some agencies do procure in October because there are things services they need to provide in October. And that's the overriding message I want to leave you guys with is figure out how DC government buys what you sell, because clearly we purchase psychiatric services in a much different way than we do toner for the copiers. So there's no one size fits all in terms of how procurements are done. Okay, anything else, Devin?
No, I think you answered that. That was great, and I just need to, as I'm sure all of us do, just go and familiarize ourselves with the Green Book and figure out how it works. Oh, I guess the other question is, and again, at any time if we have questions, we can reach out to your organization for assistance.
Let me just, I'm gonna keep throwing my address out here a lot. You guys should have it in absolutely everything that you've seen coming through. Did it just come through?
Yes.
Okay, great. It disappeared off of my screen. Here's my direct line. So absolutely feel free to reach out to me. I have lots of resources that we can put in to help you. So cool. So a fun part of the Green Book that we certainly want to say, we have some nice profiles of businesses. So, good inspiration to see they did it, so can I. And then this is the piece that I really like to brag on. For every year for the past 6 years here, we have exceeded our spend goal, and you can also see this lovely blue bar trend of the spend has gotten larger every year. So, last year we actually spent almost $1 billion, and our goal for this year is to spend just over 900 million. And so far, everything I'm hearing from the agencies is that we are on track to beat our goal again as a government. So it is a real treat, I can tell you, after a long career of working as a champion for small businesses myself, it's a real treat to work for a government that really values what you all bring to our economy. Cool. So a couple of places we want you guys to take a look at. These are places where there's a high incidence of waivers or lots of new goods, a couple of different ways, but we came up with 10 kind of hot spots of industries and purchase types that if you sell, we would love for you to definitely take a look at. So this is in the book. This information is in the book. It's not on the website. So this is one of those things where you want to take a look at the actual download. And here's a couple of examples of that. So you can see in healthcare services, you can see charts for what kinds of things they're buying. So, actual exams, crisis stabilization services, and then you can also see who is buying those kinds of things. So it is pretty much, exactly who you would expect it to be. But it's interesting to see how, different agencies purchase different pieces of that medical services. And ditto for food services. This one's always kind of interesting. So I'm surprised that there's so much food consulting, but there we have it. And then actual food distribution, and then equipment purchases. And then here's who's buying it, and really not much of a surprise here. We feed a lot of kids every year. Nice to see that the public. And for educational services, whether it's, this one has some surprises in it. So, actual training services, textbooks, and then consulting. And there are a lot of agencies, clearly DC Public Schools is the one that you expect to see on here, but Department of Energy and the Environment and Office of Human Rights might be places that you haven't thought of if you're looking for educational service. And then you can get that level of information for all 10 of those opportunities. So take a look at those if you sell one of those. So this is the actual big meat of the presentation. So here's the how we look at agencies in both ways. And so, like I said, if at this point you've got the website in front of you, we are going to kind of migrate over to using that, although I've got static slides here, but you can follow along. For this slide, though, I wanted you to see how the information varies from book and website. So the book is on the left. That's what I picked an agency I know well. That's what the Department of Small and Local Business Development looks like in the book. And then on the right, you can see the information that is available on the web. So the book is a great snapshot, gives you kind of a good overview. The great thing about the web is that it is eminently searchable, which is what we're going to see. One thing, we talked about Medicare purchases and things that are considered non-Sbe eligible expenses. Our budget for DSLBD is actually a really good example of why that is. You can see that we actually have a fairly big chunk, almost half of the agency's budget is set up in non-Sbe eligible expenses. And the reason for that is our agency is a very large grant making agency. We make through the robust retail grants, through the DC Main Streets programs grants, and the Clean Team grants, we actually award over $9 million a year in grants, and that is more than half of our budget. So the good news is grants are also subject to the Cbe Law. They are just not monitored in the same way. So a lot of that data falls out of these dashboards that we're looking at. But if you should know, if you receive a grant, you will be subject to anything that you are not purchasing or not doing with your own business's work is subject to the Cbe Law. So all of our clean teams that you see out sweeping streets are required to purchase their uniforms from Cbes. So taking a look at the, I would say it's not the biggest area, but certainly being aware that some of the grantees may be trying to find you as well. And so making sure that your data on the Cbe search portal is absolutely accurate so people can find you, because you just never know who's going to be looking for you. So like I said, there's the comparison. So here's the part where we're going to kind of reenact it online, and you guys are welcome to follow along. Here is the button that you want to push to get into the data by agency. And so here's the first screen that you will see that shows the DC government as a whole. No filters, all agencies right there. So you've got some historical data and then some nice bar chart. And then you can come up to this little field right here, and once you click on it, you'll get a choice of all the agencies. And so you pick the agency that you want to take a look at. Again, still looking at DSLBD since we know it so well. And there's the data that was in the screenshot. High budget going into grants, and just under $1 million going into procurements. And then you can take a look at, again, looking at the book. Nice view of what DSLBD buys out of our $1 million. And then same thing for here with public schools. So you can kind of see that they're, documents management, security services. And And then here's how you can start to really search for it in very, very cool ways. So you'll see the tabs at the very top of that screen. There's one labeled Goal and Spend, one labeled New Planned Acquisitions, and one labeled Special Exceptions. Up until now, we've been looking just at Goal and Spend, which is where you get the pie chart for each agency. And you click on the tab for New Planned Acquisitions, this is what you see. So once again, the first column lists every single agency. So here's your little slider bar that you can slide up and down to pick on an agency. So in my example here, we're taking a look at DC Public Schools. So now we've clicked on, and our view has changed to see what types of expenses they buy. So looking for arts and entertainment and educational services, like we said, big amount. And then you can click on any of the things in the second column, and you will get the actual NIGP codes for what they're purchasing. So that's really important because you want to, you know, the NIGP codes for what you sell, so you can search for NIGP codes to see who is selling, who is buying what you're selling by NIGP code. Let me just stop for a second because some people may be new to NIGP codes. It stands for the National Institute of Government Procurement, and it is the way that we put a code, a number code, for everything that governments purchase anywhere. So everything from dog food for the police department to lottery machines for Office of Lottery and Gaming has its own code. And so it's really important when you are setting up your CBE record to pick as many codes as accurately reflect what you do, because the agencies will just come in and look for their very specific code. And if it doesn't show up on your record, then you won't get a second look. So, you know, there may be 15 different codes for educational training services. So you want to make sure that you pick all 15 of them for your business. The other thing to note here is that you can get more detail in the bottom column there about those acquisitions, so you can see what they're looking for. So let's take a look at diving deep into what DC Public Schools is purchasing for event management. They've got $85,000 that they're looking at for event management here. So then we can click on that NIGP code, and this is the beauty of what this website does and how we hope you will use it. So then you can click on event management and see what other agencies like Housing and Finance, Office of Neighborhood Safety Engagement also purchase from that NIGP code. The way that works really well is, let's say you have an event planning firm and you are currently selling to DC Public Schools. Then you can come in and search and see what are all of the other agencies that also purchase event planning services. So that's one way to use this information to say, okay, I should also be prospecting for these other agencies. A second way to look at it is I am maybe running an AV firm, and I provide setups to set up all of the computer screens. Well, that's kind of adjacent to event planning. And if you see that agencies that you are currently selling your AV services also have a large event planning service, you may want to add that to your business to say, we now, especially all of the agencies were very interested in finding this time last year, event producers who could produce digital events and virtual events. So, so it was a real natural progression because the people who were really good at AV installation also tended to be really good at running virtual events. So, like I said, here's where once you click on the actual event management, then the second field down, outlined in red, shows the actual code, NIGP code for event management, that 962. And then, like I said, you can see exactly what they're looking at. They're looking for vendors to provide community events. They're looking for food and decorations. So you can get quite a bit of detail about what they're looking for before solicitations are posted. And that's where the Green Book is especially valuable, is these are all projections so you can start thinking now about what which agencies to search and what to search for and ways you might want to adjust your business. So at this point in the year, this is an important historical record. You can see what they have purchased and take a look at that. So look and see who has done event programming, event management, who has done audio visual. And if they did it last year, they'll probably do it again this year. So then they're on your radar to be looking for. And then in November, when the new data is released, plan to spend some time really poring over it to see who actually is going to be purchasing what you're selling. So here's, like I said, we found Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement is planning on spending almost $200,000 on event planning. And then the details of they're looking for vendors to provide products for community events, year-end event for student participants, breaks it down into quite a bit of detail there. So the other tab to take a look at, remember we had the 3 tabs. One was the goal, one was the planned acquisition, and then the third tab is the special exceptions. So that's what this screen shows when you pull that up. And these are the agencies that have already requested a special exception from the Cbe Law to, they're projecting that they will be requesting these special exceptions. So it's a chance for you to, I would say, of all the things we've talked about, this is probably the least useful for you, because once they've decided that they definitely have to have Microsoft certified, software to run their school Blackboard systems, then it's hard for you to develop software that would be comparable to what Microsoft is developing. It's proprietary information, things that are only available from one seller, but you just never know. So this is the, like they say, the gravy on your meatloaf. This may be the extra amount where you could take a quick peek here and see what are the things that people are anticipating they will be asking for waivers for, and see if there's something that you think, well, I absolutely could do that. So absolutely, let me jump in there and take a look at it. So like I said, not a huge amount, and I haven't seen businesses have huge luck with reversing waivers. We actually found we are approving fewer waivers, so we're working with the agencies way earlier to help them find those alternatives. And once it moves into the actual waiver process, I don't know that that's the, like I said, where to spend most of your time. But if you're doing everything else, don't forget to look into the waivers and exceptions.
Hey, Lauren.
Yes, sir.
And Devin again. For companies who are not already certified as a CBE or LBE or any of those, if they're just a small business in DC that's just getting started and they get contracted out for one of these, does that number count as part of the percentage? Okay.
It doesn't. So I am on a big mission. We have 33,000 33,000 businesses in DC, and only 1,900 of them are certified as CBEs. Wow. So we certainly see that skewing towards the types of businesses that that sell things that DC government purchases. So when you look at the list of CBEs, lots and lots of construction companies, because we actually are a pretty big real estate industry. So obviously that. But yeah, if you, that is, and thank you, Devin, a great use of the Green Book. Before you go through the process of applying to be a CBE, spend a little bit of time to see if what you sell is something that would be worth going through that process. I can say, if you're a fashion designer selling unique one-of-a-kind handbags, CBE process is not really your bag. So no pun intended. But if you're a fashion designer who's making backpacks or who's making purses, and you can pivot to doing backpacks that could be purchased by especially Department of Youth Services, I think has a big category for backpacks, then you may want to pivot your business to also, if the backpacks would be relatively easy to sell and you could make money off of them, that would allow you to keep doing the more creative piece, then that might be a great way to add to your business. So that's the kind of questions you can answer by taking a look at this data. The other question is, would your business even qualify to be a CBE? And so oops, sorry, I'm clicking around here. Which way did I go? Let me go back. We have a little wizard on the website, and our website, just in case anybody doesn't have it, is dsobd@dc.gov, and come in and look for the certification and come find our wizard, and you can spend 10 minutes and figure out whether you are even eligible to be a CBE, and then that will let you know also. Okay, so taking a look just a little bit in depth at the police department. So again, here's, big picture from the book, no surprise, they buy uniforms, they buy polygraph services, all the kinds of things, exercise equipment that you would think that they purchase. And then, and then here in the greater depth, same information in the website, showing that they actually have, no surprise here, a fairly small procurement budget as a percentage of their agency budget, because what does every neighborhood want to see? More cops on the street. And so they have a huge amount that goes into personnel. But of what they procure, here's, a closer look at the uniforms that they procure, and the electrical services that they procure, and application support. And then here's, we can see that they buy office supplies. No surprise there. And then here's the special exceptions that they have. I think they have tasers, as we actually do not have any DC-based businesses that sell tasers. So you're thinking about adding to your handbag business by putting in tasers that go into your purse, then you might have a customer. Oh, I got ahead of myself. Here's the page that shows special exception list down at the bottom. And always make a brag on MPD. I put this presentation together long before January 6th, but man, they sure came through, and we want them to have all the tasers they need to keep our beautiful city safe. So here's more research into their tasers. I don't know why tasers fascinated me so much that I did somebody's screenshot it. There you go. So that's just a couple of ways that you can search through that vast amount of data. One other section of information that I want to show you that exists only in the book, so this one is not so much on the website, but in addition to all of the agencies for DC government, we also include some information about our government corporations. So places like DC Water, WMATA, that also have really great commitments to hiring small businesses. So, and the data that we get from each agency is slightly different because of the time of the year and what they can release. So DC Water, I've been spending a lot of time with this week. Their budget won't be finalized until October. So what they will have in the book is what they spent last year. So it's only going to be historical data from DC Water, but you can look and see that, they need help with HVAC systems and janitorial systems. And so, it'll give you a good idea. The great thing about DC Water and another agency, MWA, Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, both of those agencies have expedited vendor enrollment for CBEs. So once you get your CBE status, you can then cruise right on over to DC Water and MWA and get to be one of their vendors in a little bit of an expedited process. And all of the agencies that are listed as our regional partners, we have about 6 of them, all have a commitment and a mandate to work with small businesses. So whether they have an expedited process or not. Here's WMATA. We were able to we can get forecasts from them. They spend a lot of money, so take a look at them. And here's the areas where they spend that. So it's a lot of rail car service, things that you would expect, but also police cars for all of the transit police they're working with. Furniture, office supplies, all of the kind of standard stuff. Another thing just to raise that, to bring your awareness for that also exists only in the book is this nice worksheet. So this is basically codifies all the questions that I've been kind of throwing out and research opportunities for you to take a look at of what do you currently sell? Here's the example of tree removal. What are the NIGP codes that go along with that? And then to get you start thinking, what are the codes for services that are close to tree removal? And then what agencies buy tree removal or graffiti removal. So it helps you to think about ways that you can be expanding and growing your business, as well as expanding and growing your accounts. So how, the two ways businesses grow: you sell more of your services to different customers, or you sell different services to the same customers. So this helps you look through both of those ways. Some information on other, like I said, all of the resources that we have. Our in-depth counseling through the DC government is called our Ptac, Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And they offer really intense, long haul. They'll work with you for quite a bit of time. You do have to already be a Cbe to get their counseling, and you have to have work experience. I am sorry to say that the procurement process is the same. I hear the conversation so many with new businesses that I've also had with people who were straight out of college. How do I get the experience if I don't get hired? And how do I do that? But I will say DC agencies do tend to look for work experience. So if you are a brand new business wanting to sell to DC agencies, you might achieve that by selling to other people first that might be more able to take a risk on you. So for that reason, our in-depth counseling is only for businesses that have a history of having sold. It's not for startup businesses. But if you're interested in getting counseling from them, shoot me an email. And Cyril reminded me that the workshop, when I said that, I was like, I think I might be wrong. The worksheet is also available on the website. Thank you for that, Cyril. So if anybody wants to sign up for Ptac, shoot me an email. We just created a new introduction system, so I can give you a little bit of a white glove transition over to Ptac. The other great resource for you.
Lauren, I have a question. This is Helen. So when you talk about experience, so if I have a Cbe, but my experience is primarily before getting my CPE with my company, is that valuable? Would that work, or does it have to be working with DC experience?
No. It's just you have to show that you have done the work that you say you can do, but it doesn't have to be DC government. Yeah. And the quick shorthand they use is that your business needs to be at least 6 months old. So again, not a startup business. And I did talk to a business not long ago. They've been in business for 6 months, and they actually have not sold anything yet. So even though they're 6 months old, because they don't have a record of sales, they might not be able to get that kind of counseling. But yeah, if you're selling your goods and services to other customers right now and have that history, and you're a Cbe, then you are a perfect candidate for Ptac counseling.
Got it. Thank you.
Over at Office of Contracts and Procurement, they have recently established an Office of the Ombudsman. And Pete Teague, man, forgets more about procurement when he goes to bed at night than I think I'll ever know. He is very skilled at procurement services. He is a great resource for businesses, and he's incredibly accessible. So he lets me put his phone number and email right here in the site. So definitely reach out to him. The big thing that he's there to do is if you feel that you are not being treated fairly as a contractor or a subcontractor. But he has, and he's just hired, his office has expanded, and they've really added a mission of just supporting you guys in general. So not just when there's a problem, but also making sure that you're landing as much work as you can. And so in addition to being available to you guys one-on-one, Pete also does the general vendor workshop that's coming up next week, and then he does the opportunities opportunities identification and capture, which we're doing another one next week, and then we'll repeat that again in November. Oh, and I see, yes, I remember, and Uchana, I hope I'm not mangling your name too much, but that I remember, I recognize your name, that we had talked a little bit about Pete for getting a time set up for one-on-one, because you were in the general vendor workshop that we were in last week. So shoot me an email if you think something's fallen through. That's not like Pete, so I'm sure that we'll get that scheduled pretty quickly. So, cool. Okay, so that's the prepared remarks, and we have budgeted for another 25 minutes, so we can certainly spend a lot of time on questions. If anybody wants to go live in the Green Book right now, we could do that, but I'm certainly happy to unmute everybody, and we can have conversations however you guys want to.
Yes, Lauren Devon again. You had said that you want people to contact you regarding the Ptac. Is it about the counseling, or was it something else? You had mentioned another term, and I didn't get a chance to write it down quickly.
It is for counseling, yeah, and you can reach out to them in any way, but this is breaking news. We just decided yesterday that it's better for you guys and better for Ptac if I introduce you directly to them. So so I'd love the chance to have somebody on this call be the first one that we do that with.
Sure. Well, I know I'm certainly interested.
All right. That's Devin, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me make a note that I will reach out to you afterwards.
I'll put my information.
Yeah, and if anybody else just wants to put your name in the chat or
sure. This is Helen. You could put me in.
Okay, Helen. Cool. Awesome. Cool. Love it when we make change and we're able to implement it within 24 hours like that. So I'm back to trying to unmute all you guys. And obviously, the minute we end this session, I'm going to reset the next session. So, okay, Adam wants in to Ptac. Ptac will regret ever telling me that I can send them the unlimited number of folks. And Devin, I see that you put a different address in here. Is that different than the one you used to register for the workshop here? Devin, I got you muted again.
I'm sorry, my phone was ringing. I hit the mute button and couldn't get back in.
Sorry. Yay.
I can't remember. I don't know if it was L Walker.
Okay, cool. Well, I will make sure and capture the chat. You guys will see the chat in the recording, but I'll be sure and have it, so I've got it for all you guys. Yeah,
probably I registered through a separate email called L Walker, and I'll put that in the chat as well. You can send it to either one.
Okay, cool. And like I said, anybody that wants to be unmuted, raise your hand. Now that I know why Devin was muting himself, I'm gonna stop just going through trolling and unmuting people. So so let me know if you want me to unmute you, and we can keep talking that way. So continue to put questions in the chat, raise your hands. Let me know what you guys want to do with the 20 minutes here.
And I would also say that I shared my information there, but I'm willing to network with anybody on this call, because we all trying to make things happen, and we can always use support. So feel free to reach out to me if you like.
Good one. Yep. There's no end to and networking has been so hard this year, because all of the events where we plan on giving you guys massive exposure to each other have that's the one piece that I think has fallen apart. So we are headed into our first in-person event. It's not actually from DC government, but it's one of our important partners. The Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is doing their big in-person expo at the Convention Center next Thursday. No, tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah, and so yeah, they are doing lots of lovely precautions, and it looks like it's going to be a really safe event, and I'm really proud of them for pushing ahead and making that as safe, but also as useful for you guys as possible. We have, on the other hand, pioneered doing the matchmaking sessions, which the way those work is that an agency will come to us, or a prime. We're actually doing more of these for prime contractors than we are for agencies right now. And so we just did something for Rand Construction, where they were looking for subcontractors for some of their one of their big projects. And so they were able to give us, here's the list of NIGP codes of firms that we are looking for, and then we run a check of all of the Cbes and only send invitations to the folks who already have the code. So it's not open to the public; it's a by invitation only. And then what you're invited to do is to send us your capability statement. And then we actually vet them for the company and we'll set up interviews. So you guys get a 10 minutes to just pitch to a hiring, a procurement officer or whoever is outsourcing specialist in a private company. So the things that I took away from the first ones of those that we organized, Ptac, in addition to their counseling, Ptac has really great workshops that go in depth. We tend to do 30-minute and hour-long workshops, and they do 3 and 6-hour workshops. And you can register for them through, you can find the link from follow Ptac on the dslbd.dc.gov site to get right to their registration. And so if you're thinking that you might want to try matchmaking, I will say that make sure and take their class on putting together a capability statement, because they're never as good as you think they are. They can always get better. And also that 10-minute pitch conversation. So they do great classes on both of those. And Cyril asked if the chat will be shown in what I send to you. It will not be in the document I send, but it will show up in the recording. So the chat does get captured in the recording. It's not a perfect one, and with my Southern accent, I'm always fascinated to see how it transcribes, the pieces that we're doing. That's when it's been doing closed captioning. That's when I get mangled the most. But yeah, the chat will show up along with the attendees in a text format. And just a reminder to everybody, we are still recording. So, anything that you say could wind up on a public website at some point. Okay. Yep. Ichana, got you for introductions to Ptac. So far, I've got Devin, Helen, Adam, and Ichana. Feel free to put your name in the chat if you want that referral. And as a reminder, and I will double check for all you guys, to get the referral to Ptac, you have to be a Cbe already, and you have to have got examples of work experience. You can't be a startup.
And Lauren, also, and for those who may not have already applied for the Cbe, it might be good just to let them know generally how long will it take from beginning to end. I know it can vary.
Thank you for a good leading question. We guarantee that you will have, or unless there's just a huge problem, it does take 45 days to review applications. I couldn't believe one of my colleagues told me that he reviewed 250 applications in just a short period of time at certification. So it's a 45-day process. The clock will stop ticking on the 45 days if your application gets sent back to you with questions. So it's 45 days if everything that you upload in the application process is what is requested. But if we ask you to upload your profit and loss statement and you don't upload a profit and loss statement, then we'll email you back and say, where's your profit and loss statement? And then you'll have time to send that back. And so that can take longer than 45 days. It's an intensive process. I definitely recommend that you take the wizard to make sure you're eligible. And then there's a webinar and one-on-one consulting. So you can meet with somebody from the certification team before you even open an application if you want to. And you can do all of that at the toolkit. Let me put that in. You can sign up for those through the calendar. There's the toolkit address. And meet with somebody. You have to prove that you're not trying to defraud DC government. So the minute I mention that F word, then it's going to be a rigorous application. I'm not going to sugarcoat that in any way. It is very thorough, and you are asked to upload a lot of information. So it is a little bit of your time required in putting that together. The thing that's most frustrating, because it does take a little bit of time, is that if you are bidding on something today, there is no way to expedite your application. So yeah, so if you think you might ever want to bid on something where being a CBE is a good thing, go ahead and apply. Once you're certified as a CBE, then the renewal process is relatively easy. And Uchana had asked, yes, the wizard is on the DSLBD website. And I tell you what, let me stop sharing this screen. Uh-oh, got I think I'm gonna try muting Helen. Let's see if that solves it. Okay, so let me stop sharing and get back to my notes a little bit faster. I have a whole lot of links that I normally put into the chat, but it was too hard to do them on one screen. So they're all coming to you. Here is the address to the wizard. Not gonna lie, I don't want to jinx anything, but I had the worst. Uchana can vouch for it because she was there. I think some of you guys may have been. So thank you for coming back. Every technology that could have failed last week did. And so that's why we're doing a makeup session with Pete. And I was like, I'm not plugging in anything extra for this one because I am not going to risk having another crash. But now that we're not showing a presentation, here's the website to the wizard, and quick set of 5 questions, 10 questions to 5 minutes, and 10 questions to see, should you try to become a CBE? Let's see what else. Here is, if you think you're a CBE, here is the website that where we list all CBEs. So, always check your listing to make sure you're in there and to make sure that it's presenting your business in the way you want to be presented. There is a space on the application where you describe your business. Think of that as your first brochure. And so rather than being technical about, short answers, put it into promotional language. So you're really starting to sell your business that way. And I'm trying to think of other questions that we've covered. Here's the actual link to the whole CBE application for you. I already gave you the toolkit, which is a really great resource. Oh, and here's one other, here's a link to the Small Business Resource Center. So one of the things by visiting the business toolkit you'll get is a link to we have a really robust ecosystem in DC that supports small businesses. And in addition to the counseling that our Ptac division, obviously, which I promote heavily, does, you can get counseling from the Small Business Development Center. They have several locations around the city, one at Howard University, one in the Anacostia Economic Development Corporation. And so they will work with startup businesses. So the Small Business Development Center does great work. The Latino Economic Development Corporation and the Washington Area Community Investment, WACIF. Help me out, Cyril. What does WACIF stand for? Washington Area Community Investment Fund, I think. There are a couple of community development finance institutions, and LEDC and WACIF are 2 examples. So they will help you with loans and help you get loan ready for getting loans. The least expensive loan is always from a commercial bank, so they can also help you get your credit score better and get looking at how to make commercial applications. But then if you are not as eligible for a commercial bank, then they have their own lending sources, and they do micro loans and some really great programs. So I'm just kind of running through the list of the ones that I've interacted with in the past few days. There's also the Washington, D.C. Women's Business Center, which does a special outreach to women business owners. Latino Economic Development Corporation does, they provide a lot of services in Spanish, but you do not have to be Hispanic or Latino to receive any of their services. So you can get links to lots of organizations. If this is your first toe dipping into to getting help from any economic development organization, my advice is always to sign up for counseling from 3 different organizations, just to make sure that you are with the best fit for you. And if one of them gives you really wild advice, then run it past a couple of others, and before you make any big changes to your business. So so take advantage of the great resources that we have out there. Let me just check and see if anybody has put any other questions. I kind of blew up the chat with some of the lots of links and make sure I didn't miss anything. Wow. Okay, Adam, got your contact information. Got Uchina. Yep, cool. Cool. Any, didn't catch the name of the organization that helps with small business loans. Let me give you 2. I was just corresponding with them yesterday, so I think I can give you their websites off the top of my head. I can type, yep, LADC. So that's Latino. And then Waco. Yep. Ignore that one. Let me send it to you without Waco. And that's the Washington area. So those are 2. Yeah, I think those are the 2 most active loan programs with small business loans, other than, of course, SBA. Certainly we all got familiar through the PPP loans and grants. Hopefully you guys all benefited from those. And hopefully that's giving you access to the regional office. Dave and the crew at our DC based version of SBA are awesome, so they can also help you with them. Did I hear a question? Just kind of talking over it. Okay, well, we are close to the end. So if there's nothing else, I'm going to let you guys go a little bit early. It'll take me a few minutes to shut everything down. So by all means, keep sending in any last minute questions, anything that you thought of for the last. And watch for the recording to come along with the PowerPoint deck coming to you, as well as, you're in our system now. So we'll promote any other things that we can for you. And hopefully we'll see you at some of the other sessions coming up soon. It's been lovely spending Wednesday afternoon with you guys, and I hope that some of this information has been helpful. And of course, the last piece is go back to your browser and fill out our survey. Let us know what more you would like to hear from DC government or DSLBD. Well, thank you. Thanks, Luciano. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Okay, I'm going to start shutting it down. Everybody have a great day.